Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Tool Talk number two. Over my left shoulder, a couple fellas standing near the summit of Mount Evans in Colorado, and they are enjoying the big view. And that's what we'd like to talk about today in our second Tool Talk. So, what I mean by the big view is at least my perception of, and in a very general sense, the masculine journey. But it is amazing how this graphic keeps showing up time and time again, as in a very general sense, expressing what the male journey is all about. Now, in about 5 minutes, we're going to cover this, and we'll be looking at this again in future tool talks, but just to give you a graphic and an overview of what, at least from my perception, how I see it happening. The masculine journey can be divided into two major groups. First, the first half of life, the second half of life. And then the second half of life is actually divided into two subgroups that we'll talk about in a minute. But the first half of life is really about ascent right here. And change colors here. Ascent, and what I mean by ascent, the what's important in the first half of life is, the level of education, the early family nurturing in the home, the type of education, the inward abilities, the strengths of the young man. Where will I go to school? Who will I go through life with? What type of career will I have? And it's all about ascending. It's all about building and becoming. And there comes a point, at some point, that generally I think about the age of 35, maybe a little bit later, was where life starts pushing in. And this is actually the threshold into the second half of life. Life starts pushing in the realities of a mortgage, of maybe a couple kids around the house with in diapers, and the pressures of relationships and things that start to push in the realities that we have absolutely no control over. And the young man in his 30s starts to ask, gee, how in the world did I end up here? My dreams and aspirations are being challenged, and for the first time, really start to question whether these things will be accomplished or not. And that's a very, very important part of life, this life pushing in. And this can go on for years and most likely decades. Long period of time where it's characterized by this erratic kind of life of kind of moving and pushing and pressure and responding and so forth. And then as the man ages, and I would say this is happening here. This happens here probably in the 50s, or maybe even a little bit later, sometime in the 50s. The man really starts to get it, and meaning not that you don't get it before, but there's really starts to be an emerging reality that the key to life is all about letting go of control. And when I use the term descent, it doesn't mean in a negative sense, but it really is punctuated by the term wisdom. And we become the kind of man that people like to hang around with, that people like to seek out, that, and I'm sure you can think of examples in your own life of men such like this. So just a very quick overview here of the masculine journey. We're going to be going on into more detail in the sessions to come. But I'd like to leave with you a tool, give it a try. And what I'd like you to think about, either individually or in your small group, is to think about this overview, and you can use the slide there on our website, and ask yourself, what aspect of this masculine journey can I most identify with at this stage in your life? So just give that some thought, think about it, jot down a few notes, and I hope you gain some value from thinking about where you are, where you are now in your life. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.